By the end of tonight, we will be at the halfway point of the World GT Championship here on RaceSpotTV for what will be a thrilling night's experience, as the sign says there, at Daytona International Speedway. Hello everybody, my name is Paul Smith. Alongside me is the one and only Peter Mackay. And Peter, welcome back after 2 weeks away, and well, you've certainly missed some thrilling action, but three 20-minute sprint races you've come back for. You really like to punish yourself, don't you?
Oh yes, absolutely, and back at one of my favourite racetracks in the world, Daytona International Speedway. It's a special place for me. I've had the pleasure of going here a couple of times, and it is indescribable, the atmosphere of this place, and racing on the high banks of Daytona is something very special. And in a sprint format tonight, we're in for a treat.
So we're on the back edge of the second quarter North America route, because we were at Road Atlanta 2 weeks ago, then Road America this week, and now last week even, and then this week it is Daytona, before we then have a week off before going over to Fuji Speedway for the first time in this championship, then head on over to the West Coast for Long Beach before heading down under to Phillip Island, and then we finish off Spa-Francorchamps, Silverstone and the Nürburgring. And what a season it has been. And well, we've finally got the drop scores included on the championship standings, which means that we get more of an indication as to how the season is going for drivers out there. And well, it's Ross McFarlane who leads the championship currently in his Pure Sims eSport car, ahead of his teammate Alex Davidson by just 18 points, with Alex Gall not that far back in third place, with Jacob Machuski down there in fourth place. Michael Doka, Jack Sedgwick, James Armstrong, who got his first ever win in the championship last week for Brabham Esports, he's in seventh, ahead of Darren Corone, Matt Fletcher and Josh Thompson. In your Pro-Am standings, it is Mark Hutchinson who currently leads that one from his Evo SR teammate Chris Van Der Ness by 15 points. 4 points back from them is Andy Archer for Century Sim Esports, with Paul Webster with his attempt at the Pro-Am Championship not that far off, just 28 points behind. 1 point behind him is Richard Simner with Ethan Critchley, Jensen Adriansons, Matthias Drozda, who had a really good week last week. Barnes and Horder round out your top 10. In your AM standings, it is Jesse Payne Wilkins who currently leads that one by 27 points over Adam Hedgecock. So the Parabellum Racing Simability team having a good run with Jesse Payne Wilkins. Paddy Faulkner, third place in that DCW racing car though. He's in with a shout, along with Jack Osborne as well. Sarah Raab, who unfortunately is missing this meeting, she told us in the interviews last week, she's in fifth after having a tremendous round last time out. Martin de Jong, Paul Crawford with Lars van Rijn, Ed May and Adam Coles rounding out the top 10. In the team standings, well, I mean, that one, it's a case of Pure Sims having a stranglehold on that one, 165 points ahead of the Miranda Satellite E-Stars team, with Altitude Esports at 314 points off the leaders in third place. Evo SR are the top Pro-Am team. They're just ahead of DCW Racing, with Century Sim Esports in third place in Pro-Am. Full Tilt V Motorsport, Brabham Esports, Parabellum Racing Simability and Indy Autosport Red round out the top 10 in team standings. But Peter, qualifying is coming to a close here, and well, at the moment it's Ross McFarlane who is provisionally on pole position, ahead of his teammate Alex Davidson. Those two cannot be separated.
And with the third Pure Sims car of Michael Evdoka right in there in third position as well. So the Pure Sims Mercedes AMGs are really marching on. We did see two of the Pure Sims cars actually running together. Of course, here at Daytona International Speedway, when you get up onto the high banks, the slipstream effect, the draft, is absolutely crucial when you get out there. So if you really need a teammate to give you that tow, to get that absolutely ultimate lap time. Adam Watson, though, he's out on his own at the moment, heading through the bus stop. Very, very easy to get an off-track penalty there, and oh, the Audi breaks away from Watson, and that's his qualifying lap. Done and dusted.
Yeah, that's unfortunate for Adam, but yeah, we've got some really close times out there, it must be said. We'll go through the grid order once qualifying is fully over here, but you've touched on it there, Peter. The big talking point for this round of the championship is, of course, speed. It's just pure out-and-out speed that you need here, and that Mercedes looks so strong.
It does, yeah. It has looked strong since it came on to this new Evo version of the Mercedes-AMG GT3, came onto the iRacing service. Goodness, about nearly 12 weeks ago now. It seems like that's gone by in a flash. And yeah, that front engine layout, 6.2 litre V8, it's a real monster. It's a real dragster, and yeah, it's going to be very, very tough to get on the case of those Mercedes in these conditions. The only caveat to that, though, is if drivers like Josh Thompson in the BMW, if he can stay in the draft, there is possibility to make a fight.
Yeah, certainly he's got the opportunities to get that done, as we are getting down towards the end of qualifying. There are a number of drivers who, unfortunately, a bit of parish notices, have got themselves a little bit of trouble and have got penalties, so they are starting from the back of the grid. But with that said, all said and done, qualifying is over, and here is your qualifying order for race number 1 of 3 this evening, and it is Ross McFarlane and Alex Davidson with the Pure Sims 1-2 at the front. Pure Sims Esports Michael Evdoka third place with James Armstrong alongside him on row 2, with Josh Thompson and Jacob Machuski on row number 3. Row 4 is Jared Caroni and Alex Nella, with Alex Gall and Adam Watson sharing row number 5. Row 6, Randy Shield and Richard Simner, the top Pro-Am qualifier there, with row 7 shared by Michael Gray and Tom Dadswell. Jack Sedgwick and Yannis Olbert then on row number 8, with row 9 shared by Adam State and Mike Horder. Row number 10 is Jim Whitehouse. Great qualifying for the AM driver up there in 19th, with Jensen Adriansens alongside him. Tim Perry and Ashley Finch then share row 11, with Matthias Drozda and Phil Samways on row number 12. Row 13 for Paul Webster and Kevin Kittleman, with Lee Berridge and Martin de Jong on row number 14. Row 15 for Adam Hedgecock and Patrick Faulkner. Row number 16 shared by Andy Archer and Lars Van Rijn, with Paul Crawford and Adam Coles then on row number 17. The 18th row of the grid shared by Ed May and Jack Osborne. 19th row is Mark Hutchinson and Ben Gregory, with Michael Blake, Jessica Payne Wilkins sharing row number 20. Matt Woodhouse and Brendan Stacey sharing row number 21, with row 22 shared by Matt Fletcher and Pete Harrod. Jeroen Kaiser and Chris Van Der Ness, Chris Sylvester, Brian Sohn, Jack Belton, Nick Salapertis, Andy Gilmore and David Nichols starting from the very back of the grid. A 52-car grid here, Peter, in race number 1 of the evening. That won't cause any trouble at all, will it?
It's certainly a fair old grid size to sort out, isn't it? And yeah, I think we're going to see one big, long, continuous train here as well. Pretty ideal conditions, of course, under the cover of darkness, but the floodlighting at Daytona International Speedway has to be seen to be believed. It makes Blackpool Illuminations look like an escape room.
That's one way of putting it. Do you know what? In all my years, I've never been to Blackpool. And I've been suggested that I don't want to either, but that was by somebody who lives in Blackpool. So yeah, that's certainly going to be. We'll have to see how things go tonight here. But drivers getting themselves short pace lap here. They go through the Le Mans chicane, of course, renamed this year at Daytona International Raceway, even though I'll always know it as the bus stop chicane. To me, because I'm an old man who likes to call things by its old name. But we're getting ready for the start here then. Drivers behind that Porsche 911 Cup car, pace car, minus the rear wing, of course, on that car. That'll turn off left, drivers left, and then we're under the control of Ross McFarlane, who gets the best start here in the opening race of the evening. The World GT Championship, we're underway, green flag in the air, and we're going to go Pure Sims 1, 2, 3 at the front, but then it's 3 wide for 4th place. Josh Thompson going down the inside of James Armstrong in towards the first corner. Can they all get through there. It is a favourite place to have mistakes with cold tyres and brakes. Into the International Horseshoe for the first time now. Onto the brakes, and we've got Jim Whitehouse. It was your pole position sitter, and he's found the wall. Question is, was he helped, or did he find that himself? But we stay green flag racing for the time being, Peter.
We do, yeah. It looks like the majority of the field got through okay. This is where the danger area is, though, as they come through the kink. Sometimes those at the West Horseshoe can sometimes be taken away, but it hasn't been so far. That's good running from the drivers as they come up onto Speedway Turn 1, Turn 7 and 8 on the road course as we come through. And yeah, good respect from all of the drivers involved, trying to shuffle their way through and try and get their spot on track.
It's trying to get that spot on track, isn't it? Because fortunately here it is quite a wide circuit here, so you have got that space to be able to move around and to go 2-3 wide. Into the Le Mans chicane, you're pretty much one line through this chicane, and it's all about the run out of the corner. You think you need to nail it going into the corner, but it's that run out of the corner that's the most important there, because that takes you all the way through NASCAR's turn 3 and 4 and onto the start and finish line once again on the tri-oval. And already some bump drafting going on for Pure Sims Esports. They're trying to work together. Michael Evdoka trying to break the slipstream of Josh Thompson, as Tom Dadswell has found himself a slowdown penalty on lap 1, which is one of the worst things you can do in iRacing.
Yeah, that's been deemed to cut the chicane, and iRacing gives an automatic penalty.
Oh no!
Indy Autosport BMW off the road. Oh, nearly Kevin Kitterman does well not to come all the way through. That's what we were talking about, Paul. Coming through the kink there, it's all grass all the way through to the West Horseshoe. Lucky not to come all the way through to the other side.
Oh my goodness, that was so close to being a huge instant for your race leaders as well, because it was the race leaders who had made their way through the International Horseshoe and were working their way through. And I bet Ross McFarlane needs a change of underpants after seeing a pair of headlights heading towards him. Here's what happened then. And it's one of the Simability cars, the Parabellum Simability cars. And yes, those leaders will be thankful that those two drivers were able to whir those horses up and to get themselves out of the way, because that was a scary moment.
Very scary. You're right, Paul. It was the International Horseshoe. I actually thought it was the West, but it is the International Horseshoe that happened there. Chris Van Den Ness loses it all on his own, just touches the grass and push into the wall. So a few drivers hitting problems here. Of course, 3 20-minute sprint races, and I tell you what, the way that the spinny wheel reverse grid comes out is going to play a huge factor in tonight's. Oh, and James Whitehouse there did get a help. I didn't see from who.
Yeah, it was. I think it was one of the boosted Virage cars that was right behind him, and he's kept it going though. He is out there on track right now, so here's more replay, and that's the problem with that Audi right there. When you're having to trim out that aerodynamics, that rear wing, it just makes it so difficult to drive. As Josh Thompson is a man on a mission right now in that BMW.
He is, and I tell you what, Josh Thompson is doing a super job to get on the case of the Pure Sims Mercedes here, because he just does not have clearly the same straight line speed that the Mercedes do. And as you mentioned earlier on, Paul, that straight line speed is so important. But yeah, he's got the bit between his teeth. He knows he's got to push absolutely maximum attack. And he's certainly within the distance here, but 8/10 of a second behind Ross McFarlane. That is close enough to start to get a draft. But the problem is he is at a deficit to McFarlane in terms of straight line speed on a clear track. But his teammate there, Alex Davidson, what will he do? Will he bump Josh Thompson along? Will he try and make a move past? He's decided to just back off it and then make the run out of the Le Mans chicane. Very clever.
That BMW looks so good through that chicane though, it really does. Josh has got that dialed in and really took a good swing through there, and you can see on the timing tower in the top left hand corner, that time is just coming down thick and fast in that slipstream. I don't think he's going to be quite close enough to make a move into turn 1, but right now you want to be thinking, do you know what? I don't want to be in the lead at any point of this race apart from the very last time across the stripe.
Yeah, that's what it's going to come down to. This is all about tactics. Yes, we're on a road course, but you've got to use kind of super speedway style tactics. Daytona, Talladega, that kind of style. This is what the driver's got to be really smart, really, really clever. But Josh Thompson actually has done a super job here to get that Verstappen Redline Racing BMW right on the case of our leader, Ross McFarlane, because he is not blessed with that amount of straight line speed, and he's used the slipstream as best as he can. And as you rightly noticed, Paul, Josh has got that thing set up very well. It's very balanced under braking, and particularly through we saw two different ends of the scale. The car looks on rails going through the Le Mans chicane, whereas you compare it to Adam Watson's Audi, it was a bucking Bronco.
Certainly was. Back onto the super speedway then, and to get themselves back up to top speed under slipstream. We're talking about top speeds of, I can see right here, 296 kilometers an hour is the top speed currently in this first race. So you're touching 180, almost 180 miles an hour in a slipstream. Ross McFarlane, though, he's only hit 288, so he's at an 8 kilometer an hour deficit to Josh Thompson in this race so far. So that just shows the effect that slipstream has. Adam Coles, he's been working his way through the field, and then a question of losing it with a little bit of side-to-side contact perhaps.
Yeah, a little bit of a muddle there as they came through turn 6 and 7. Trying to sort each other out now. Josh Thompson trying to get on the case, trying to put Ross McFarlane under pressure, going to move around the outside at turn 1 into 2 and 3. They're side by side now. They come down into the international horseshoe. There's plenty of room to make a move up the inside as Jesse Payne Wilkins loses it and takes one of the. That's
one of the RC simulation cars.
Yes, the
as well.
Penguin car. Yes.
And that Jesse Payne Wilkins, of course, is the AM Championship leader. So the business is picking up. Speaking of picking up, James Armstrong moving through to third place now. He did lose places at the start, but he's making his way back. So this top 6 right now with Jacob Machersky. I think Machersky's just biding his time here, and he's not far behind. Got Jared Caroni behind. Now here's what happened, Peter. 2 into 1 just does not go, does it?
No, yeah, that's where you've got to be really careful in that kind of 2x2 environment on the super speedway. That's where a good spotter really comes in play. I mean, in the Rolex 24 Hour at Daytona, all of the teams have got spotters on the roof of the grandstand, trying to give the drivers the best information that they can. But just as we came out of shot there, Josh Thompson did get that move done going into the international horseshoe. Used that move on the inside. But I think, is Thompson going to slow down? He has. Oh dear.
And it's so easy to pick up that slow down penalty at the Le Mans chicane. It's not the end of the world for him though, because if he's able to serve that and hang on to the coattails of the drivers in front, then he can get himself back up there. There's plenty of time left. We've not even reached the halfway point of this first race. Traffic coming out of pit road. James Armstrong with an aggressive move on Alex Davidson. Davidson, though, getting himself back in front there. Armstrong, he'll be buoyed by getting that race win last time out. And, he had a few technical problems for race 2, but getting that monkey off your back of getting the first win in the championship really does boost your confidence for the rest of the season. Here's come Thompson, the Manxman, doing everything that he can to try and get past Michael Evdoka.
Yeah, Thompson looking so confident in that BMW at the moment, particularly under braking. The car's so stable, it seems. But if Doka says, no you don't, I'll show you the hard shoulder. So Thompson's really going to have to fight for this one. But he looking strong, looking very strong indeed. And he comes down to block Machuski's run. So it's McFarlane at the front from Davidson, from Armstrong in that Brabham BMW. Looks fantastic. I was going to say something. The string vest has come back for Machuski.
It's not quite a Ramsey Nesbitt vest, that's for sure.
It's pretty close. It's pretty close.
But yeah, it's great when we get these pictures from the drivers, and that they do give us this a little bit of an insight to them, and you can see how this this is the thing with the banking around here. You put in very little steering input around the banking there. It just really just guides you around, and you just have to focus on that car in front. And that car in front right now is Josh Thompson, Team Redline driver, onto the brakes once again. The Magnus Satellite E-Stars driver, Jacob Maczewski, behind. Just keeping track of what Josh is doing, but we're into the second half of the race already. Worth pointing out, your top Pro-Am driver right now is Michael Gray, 11th place overall in this race. The next Pro-Am is Jensen Adriansen's down in 18th, so Michael has got a good gap there between him and his championship protagonists there. Your top AM driver right now, looking down the order, is Paul Crawford in 24th place, just 2 places ahead of Michael Blake. So the AM drivers, I think they're finding it a little bit tougher out here tonight compared to some of the other rounds of the championship that we've come to.
Yeah, it seems so. There's just so many strong pro drivers, isn't there? And that, yeah, it seems to be having an effect at the moment. But Jakob Maczewski just trying to keep himself on the tail of the leading pack, and actually Joad Caroni is driving very well. He's, I think, just about close enough to catch this lead pack. Let's see what happened to Patrick Faulkner. Oh, Patrick Faulkner got nerfed there.
Nerfed by Adam Watson, yes. It's well, actually no, it could be Adam Hedgecock as well, to be fair, because he's in the end,
could be.
So let's not jump to conclusions, but given
sorry, Adam Watson, I mean,
given what's happened in the past with Adam Watson, it's quite easy to jump to conclusions. Then Tim Perry, who another one who's, speaking of being a trier, trying too hard to carry speed around the
triangle orange paint scheme they've got going.
Here's Tom Dadswell looking to make a move. That's on the Yannisol Bear. So Dadswell, who we saw having that slowdown penalty on lap 1, has really suffered with that. He's dropped. Well, actually, he's gained a place from where he started, so he's managed to recover now, and he's found himself up there in 13th. But we've got packs of cars, and Jack Osborne, for Century and Sim Alt Racing, managed to avoid Patrick Faulkner. Oh, but that's what happened to Tim Perry. Oh, well, one of the Virage cars. Oh, Tim Perry was having his own incident. There's enough of boosting Virage car having an incident, and then there's those two, Patrick Faulkner, and I want to say Chris Sylvester. Yeah, they were both duking it out there.
They were having a cuddle as they were going down the street. The cars were attached to each other. They were, yes, they were getting very cosy. Anyway, back at the front, 6 minutes and 40 seconds to go. McFarlane still leading then from Davidson, his teammate and, of course, championship rival. Armstrong there in 3rd. Michael Avdoka in 4th. So Pure Sims have got a lot of bullets in the gun up the front, whereas the rest of the runners, they're kind of fighting alone.
Thompson's not quite keeping with them, is he, at the moment? He seems to have just dropped back a little bit. I know he had that slowdown penalty, but here comes Avdoka with the help of his 2 teammates, who both moved to the right there to try and give him the slipstream to get past James Armstrong. Pure Sims, they want to have a 1-2-3 again. I mean, the last time they did that was, Monza, wasn't it? In race number 1 at Monza, as there was a bit of a hip check, as Thompson and Armstrong, and Thompson to the inside of Armstrong now.
Oh, I tell you what, Armstrong, he really showed Avdoka the hard shoulder there. He did get shuffled out a little bit, so he'll have to try and fight back. But yeah, the sheer grunt of these Mercedes AMGs is very, very hard to fight with. And speaking of fight, it carries on. And no! Oh, Avdoka into the back of Thompson. Oh dear, just as Thompson was at its most vulnerable, bang, Avdoka's right into the back of him, and round goes the Team Redline driver, and Avdoka goes off in sympathy. Oh my word.
Oh, and he's gonna have to get out of the way.
Giving him a salute, I'm sure, on the way past. Oh dear.
Is it 1 or 2 fingers? That's the question.
I'm going for first.
Michael Avdoka, though, that's dropped him down then. Down to 11th place out of all of that. Josh Thompson down to 9th place. It was a bit scruffy, was that. Here we go. Here's a replay then. So this was Thompson it's just the slightest
Sloppy.
of contact. And the thing is, that's not his accident. That is Evdoka getting into the back of him.
Oh, there was nothing. Thompson was minding his own business, and then whack, he's got a big 6.3 litre Mercedes up his chuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, right.
Looking further back, Alex Gall, he's suffering in that Porsche, and Jack Sedgwick is trying to push him along as well. Sedgwick isn't enjoying that Ferrari, it seems, as well around here. These are two cars that seem to be struggling for top speed.
Yes, they are, definitely. Although, I mean, that adds to the merit of both Alex Gall's performance. But Alex Neller, look at that, in 8th position. Alex Neller, number 67, who I'm sure he wouldn't mind us saying has had a really, really tough start to the season. He's been in a lot of accidents, and he is fighting on there, 8th overall in that little Porsche. Now, we know the Porsche is very good on fuel, we know it's good on tyre management, but top speed is just not its forte at all. So Alex Neller, he's driving the wheels off that thing.
We just saw Adam State have a drive-through penalty. I can tell you Chris Sylvester has got a drive-through penalty as well. So that's 2 drivers who have already fallen foul of the incident limit in this race. And I can tell you there's a couple more who are on the bubble here as well in race number 1. So they've got to be careful accumulating incident points. I know it's a sprint race, but, you know, it can come back to bite you. And with it being under 20 minutes, if you get yourself a drive-through penalty, that's going to hurt you massively. Matt Woodhouse, I mean, all season I've been saying it's not his season, and that wall has just confirmed that.
Ouch. Yeah, straight into the wall there at the Le Mans chicane, and Jack Sedgwick still giving Alex Gall a push, saying, come on, come on, come on, let's go. This is something something you won't see every day, a Ferrari helping out a Porsche or vice versa. Two factories that have fought each other on the track here at Daytona, well, since the beginning of the 24 hours of Daytona, really.
It's interesting to see that you've got Jacob Machursky, Jared Crony and Alex Gall, 1, 2 and 3, 4th, 5th and 6th together. You've got the Pure Sims esports cars at the front, 1, 2, 3. So that's the 2 teams that are fighting for the team's championship. Well, we did have, should I say. That's 2 teams that are fighting for the championship, and right now the Maradnas Satellite E-Stars team looking strong, having the 3 cars together. Just unfortunate for them that they're not actually fighting it out for the race win. And Jacob Machursky, it's worth pointing out, he has been concentrating a bit more on the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup qualification process. And yeah, he was taking part in the qualifiers to try and get into the contender series. So his focus has been a bit more on that recently. So that might explain why he's maybe just come off of the pace just a little bit in this season compared to what we saw at the start of the season, because he was right up there, wasn't he?
Oh yeah, I mean, and I'm sure, you know, it won't take long for him to get back into that groove. And yes, adapting from one car to another is one thing. I mean, and the Porsche 992 Cup is a very unique machine. However, competition is competition, and as you know much better than I do, Paul, the intensity of both the qualification and the competition itself in the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup is so fierce that if you were to go to a boot camp in sim racing, that would be it.
Oh yeah, I mean, just the qualification to get into the contender series is tough enough. I mean, you have really got to be somebody who is quick but also knows how to race as well. You can't just be quick in that series, you've got to know how to race, because in the second part of that qualification process you end up against some of the drivers that were competing in the World Championship Series. But let's forget about that for the time being, because we've only got 20 seconds remaining in this first race, and your race leader is just coming on to NASCAR's turns 1 and 2. He's got some lap traffic in front of him, Andy Gilmore. So Ross McFarlane and Alex Davidson, they are on the last lap of their race here. Now, if you're Alex Davidson, do you make a move out of Le Mans chicane? Well, we're about to find out. He's catching up under slipstream. He's hanging back though. How will the run go? Through Lamore. Get on the power, use the grunt, everything that you can. Andy Gilmore is trying to get out the way. Ross McFarlane saying, I want a bit of your slipstream, please, mate, as they come through. NASCAR turns 3 and 4. Alex Gall to the inside. Can there be a bit of side draft come to play here as well? It's going to be absolutely neck and neck to the line. They're below the line here as they come to the start-finish line. Who's won it? Who has won it? It's almost a dead heat at the front of the field, and I can tell you it is 1,000th of a second for Ross McFarlane over Alex Davidson. My goodness, Alex did everything that he could, but Ross just hangs on to that one. And that's just the first race of 3 tonight, Peter. If we're going to get finishes like that the rest of the evening, I don't think we're going to have voices by the end of the evening.
No, I put an extra dose of honey in my tea before this one, Paul. I knew we were going to be in for a thriller, but that's taking it, goodness me, that's taking it to another level. Really interesting how McFarlane went up to the high line straight away. And interesting that Davidson didn't chuck in behind him to get that last little bit of draft before popping out at the last minute. But, oh, fantastic stuff and very well defended from McFarlane. Superb.
I tell you what, Pure Sims will be wanting Adam Hedgecock to get the screenshots of that and to get that out on all of their media. Talk about the photo finish. But my goodness, we'll get you the full results once everybody has crossed the line. But we'll first of all get you the spinny wheel, the first of 2 times tonight that we get to see who is going to be a reverse grid pole position sitter. And are we going to get the first full grid? No, we're not. It's gone past that full grid. Is it going to stop at 34? Or is it going to be 28? That's going to be quite close, but it's going to be 34. We'll wait for the yellow to appear to confirm it. There we go. 34 is the reverse grid. That's quite a big reverse grid. And we'll confirm who is on pole position with your unofficial race results here. And it is a Pure Sims Esports 1-2 for Ross McFarlane. As I say, 1/1000th of a second over Alex Davidson. Jacob Machersky able to get 3rd place by 9/1000ths of a second over his teammate Jared Carone, with James Armstrong in 4th place. He was pretty close to those two as well. Alex Gall and Jack Sedgwick, again 9/1000ths of a second between those two in 6th and 7th place. Alex Neller, a commendable 8th place for him in that Porsche. With Josh Thompson, he'll be absolutely fuming finishing in 9th, with the man who hit him, Michael Avdoka, in 10th place. Michael Gray is your top Pro-Am driver for this first race of the evening, finishing in 11th place out of Andy Shield. Tom Dadswell, Yanis Albert and Ashley Finch then, and the next 4 drivers were Paul Webster, your next Pro-Am. That's a full tilt V Motorsport 1-2 in Pro-Am, with Jensen Adriansons for Indy Autosport Red finishing 3rd place in Pro-Am. Adam Watson, Phil Samways and Richard Simner down to 20th place. 21st for Andy Archer ahead of Mark Hutchinson. Paul Crawford hung on to an AM win here for DCW Racing, finishing ahead of Mark Fletcher, with Michael Blake taking 2nd place for Team Mad and Jock Osborne taking 3rd place for Century Sim Racing in the AM Championship in this race. Martin de Jong 4th in AM, 27th overall over Adam State, Ed May and Chris van der Ness. Brendan Stacey then 31st ahead of Tim Perry. Lee Berridge and Ben Gregory are going to be sharing the front row of the grid, because Ben Gregory has got the reverse grid pole for 3 Spires Motorsport. That sole McLaren on the grid is going to be suffering out there at the front of the field, I have a funny feeling. Adam Coles, Mike Horder, Brian Sohn, with Nick Salaputis, Lars Van Rijn and Matthias Drozda all the way down in 40th place. Patrick Faulkner, Adam Hedgecock and Jeroen Kaiser are there in 43rd. They're the lead lap drivers, with Jesse Payne Wilkins, Jack Belton and Jim Whitehouse 1 lap down. And then the drivers who did not score points: Andy Gilmore, Matt Woodhouse, Chris Sylvester, Pete Harrod, and the final 2, Kevin Kittleman and David Nichols. Wow, Peter, first of all, breathless finish to the end, not just for the front 2, who will get to see that finish once again. But also, pretty much the rest of the top 6, top 7 were separated by thousandths in their little groups.
Oh, fantastic. And that's what Daytona really brings to the table. It always goes down to the wire. It's very, very rare for someone to break away at the front at Daytona. I mean, almost impossible. But you can just see here's how McFarlane covered the line, then decided, nope, go back to the racing line through the Le Mans chicane. They went, really using every last bit, and Davidson did get a good run. Actually, yeah, you spotted it there, Paul. Look at that. Ross McFarlane getting a draft from the back marker there, and that actually gave him that just tiny little bit extra boost of speed. And here Davidson on the left just runs out of puff, and they're actually now level pegging, and impossible to call.
I wish we had the photo finish camera. I really did. The one for third place was pretty close as well. You had the two teammates together, but also you had James Armstrong involved in that one as well. We'll look back at that one as well, because James was trying to hang on while the Maradnas Satellite E-Stars drivers just able to get past.
Yeah, they swamped him. He's just unlucky there. I do think Ross McFarlane, he's obviously ticked the optional extra box of the Lightning McQueen tongue on the front of that Mercedes AMG GT. Just nothing to separate as well, but Puro, yeah, James Armstrong, absolutely. He was really defenseless there.
Well, let's have a look, because I mean, this was tremendous to say. We've got the race number 2 will be coming up shortly. Do not go anywhere. But I mean, there was plenty happening that on. There was a little bit of drama right at the start as well. I mean, James Whitehouse, I mean, talk about being unlucky. You qualify on pole position in AM, and then just one little mistake, cold tyres, and you end up in the wall.
Yeah, very easy to do. Very, very easy to do. And of course, with the nature of these corners, the international horseshoes, the drivers are coming around now on the replay, and then the West horseshoe, there's quite wide entries. There's a lot of different lines in, big braking zones, and yeah, that we saw a couple of times a few drivers getting caught out. And of course, Josh Thompson, he really did have race-winning pace there, I thought, but wasn't able to show it after getting tipped around by Michael Abdoka.
So, yeah, race number 1 is in the books then. We'll look forward to quite a big reverse grid. Ben Gregory in the McLaren, the venerable McLaren, it's worth saying now. He's the only one left in that car on the grid, because there you see it. He was the one who was mad enough to actually keep with the car. The other McLaren did get changed earlier on in the season, but Ben, I don't know what it is. He seems to like it, but yeah, this car really does suffer for top speed, and it was showing out there tonight, because he was about 3 or 4 kilometers an hour slower than the fastest at the speed trap. So that McLaren is going to suffer out there at the front.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, they're not.
As we appear to have lost Peter there, so apologies everyone. We were just trying to kind of get something really epic comment from Peter then, and yeah, we seem to have lost connection to him, so we'll carry on. But yes, that McLaren, it does suffer for top speed. It's quite an old machine, is that one now, and that car really does suffer top speed wise. And he'll be needing a draft. He'll be needing something from that one, and hopefully he'll be working together with others to get himself a good result in race number 2. But again, with the reverse grid that big, you've got a mixture of Pro-Ams and AMs at the front of the field. Those other drivers who finished at the front, all those pro drivers who finished near the front, they've got to work their way through and try and gain those positions. And I'm hoping that we've got Peter Mackay back now after a little bit of a technical problem there. But the big talking point really for me now, Peter, is how do those pro drivers work their way through the field? Because if anywhere you can't overtake at, this is one of those places.
Yeah, I think being very, very clever is the difference. I think if there's any drivers who have got a bit more experience on the oval side of things on how to make their way forward in a pack, that's going to come to the fore here for sure. And being able to, hitch yourself to the right wagon in the draft on the high banks is very, very important. Also, making the moves efficiently. You've got 2 overtaking opportunities in the road section, International Horseshoe and West Horseshoe, under brakes, particularly the International Horseshoe. Actually, there's a very wide braking zone there, and if you're a pro driver, you're likely to be given a bit more room by an AM driver who's in their own race and thinking, well, they're a pro, they can come through, we'll give a bit more room. So for the pro drivers, they've just got to take their opportunities when they get them, I think, and don't be involved in the big one.
Well, that's it. We could end up with the Daytona big one, couldn't we? I mean, I have got the safety car button on standby here for this one. So, but I hope that we don't get that, because it is intriguing to see how those AMs and Pro-Ams get on against the pros coming through. And if you're an AM and you've got one of those pros coming through, it's a case of you could actually use them to help speed you up and help you sort of hold on to positions as well. It's not necessarily all about just letting people by, it's being clever about it, which alludes back to the point you were making.
Yeah, if you flip that story around the other way, exactly. If you're an AM driver and you see a pro go by, hitch onto them as soon as you possibly can, and stay with them for as long as you can, because they're gonna give you a big help along the straight. You've got to be smart here at Daytona. That's what it's all about. It's about being patient, being smart, and that's why drivers like Scott Pruitt and Hurley Haywood have the most amount of wins here at the Rolex 24, 5 each overall. And those are 2 drivers that are not known for being rash.
Scott Pruitt, now there's a name from
hi to my family at home.
From the past for me, having what I remember that name from when I was. I'll tell you what it was. It was when Nigel Mansell went across to IndyCar back in 1993, and he was one of the names that was racing in the IndyCar. Was it just then, or was just after?
Yeah, it was.
Well,
yeah, that was Scott Pruitt was in. Yeah, he was. Yeah. Yeah, and he was in. He raced in Trans Am against Willie T. Ribbs, and he did a huge career, very, very long career, and I mean 5 overall wins, but many, many more in class as well at Daytona. He really was a fantastic driver, and now makes a fantastic range of wines at his winery in Sonoma. Award-winning wines, quite pricey. I mean, they're $150 a bottle plus. So he knows he's if he wants us to do tasting notes, I'll gladly receive samples.
I wondered if you'd want to have a sample.
I want to try Danica Patrick's rosé as well.
Well, I mean that's something to think. Do you know what? If we're talking about wine making, then so you got Danica Patrick, you got Pruitt, you got. I'm trying to think of other
Mario Andretti's got a
Mario Andretti, yeah. Isn't Jody Scheckter involved in some alcohol? Or is he more of an organic farm business, isn't he?
Yeah, he's got his organic farm, which I think they probably make. I think they make their own beer and cider and stuff. I think.
Of course, you've got Jarno Trulli as well, famously with his vineyard.
Does he have a vineyard? Oh, cool.
Yeah. You could almost go on
all his lorries are out all over Italy, holding up big lines of traffic.
You could almost sort of go on a motorsport
wine tasting.
Sort of wine tasting. You really could.
There's an idea. Now that would make a great Week 13 broadcast, wouldn't it?
Well, not for me, because I don't drink, so...
You can adjudicate. You can adjudicate.
Yes.
Simmer down. Now that absolute solid gold from Calvin Dent in the chat. He says, you mentioned Jody Scheckter, don't you mean James Armstrong? he is our resident Jody Scheckter. Very good. Top patter, Calvin. Top patter.
So Jody Scheckter, by the way, it's Laverstock Park Farm.
That's right.
Down in Hampshire that he is in. Certainly he's quite the entrepreneur after his motorsport career.
Yeah, he created a company that was like they provided like weapon systems or training of use of weapon systems or something, which is incredibly successful. And then he sold it to Jody. Yeah, interesting chat. I'm if I've gone quieter than usual, I'm trying to think of other racing drivers that have their own wine. But yeah, Danica's Rosé. I want to try Danica's.
If touring car drivers went into the alcohol sales business, then it would be like Ash Sutton's Fighting Cider or something like that. Something like that.
Matt
a Colin Turkington Scotch. Something like that.
Jason Plato's Bar Fight Gin.
Yes, it could all sorts, yeah, absolutely. Anyway, we've been padding away for a little bit while. This is Paul Smith and Peter Mackay. Yeah, thank you, Hugo, for pointing out to everyone who is actually coming out with all of this nonsense. It is Hugo Luis behind the scenes on the production here for you today here on RaceSpotTV. I hope you're all enjoying yourselves, and thank you very much for joining us. And if you can think of any other motorsport-themed alcohol, then do get it into the chat. We'd love to see that as we try and fill time for the set after this race as well. But we are getting ready for the second race of the evening, which means that we'll be able to go through your starting grid once again. And well, pole position, as we say, the sole McLaren out there, Ben Gregory with Lee Berridge alongside him with Tim Perry and Brendan Stacey sharing row number 2. Row 3, Chris van der Ness and Ed May. Fourth row of the grid, Adam State and Martin de Jong, with Jack Osborne and Michael Blake on row number 5, with Matt Fletcher and Paul Crawford, row 6. Seventh row for Mark Hutchinson and Andy Archer, with Richard Simner and Phil Semways on row number 8. Row 9 for Adam Watson and Jensen Adriansson. 10th row of the grid for Paul Webster and Yannis Olbert, with Tom Dadswell and Andy Shield on row number 11. Row 12 for Andy Gray and Michael Avdoka. 13th row of the grid for Josh Thompson and Alex Nella, with Jack Sedgwick and Alex Gall on the 14th row of the grid. 15th row of the grid is James Armstrong and Jared Crony. Jacob Majewski and Alex Davidson then on the next row of the grid, with Ross McFarlane and Adam Coles on row number 17. Row 18 for Mike Horder and Brian Sohn. 19th row for Nick Salaputis with Lars van Rijn, then Matthias Drozda, Patrick Faulkner, Adam Hedgecock and Jeroen Kaiser, with Jesse Pay Wilkins, Jack Belton, Jim Whitehouse, Andy Gilmore, Matt Woodhouse and Chris Sylvester, Kevin Kittleman and David Nichols. We have lost 2 drivers for this second race of the evening. Peter, I'm going to put you a little bit on the spot. Not so much a prediction of the race, but of a race winner, but which of the pros do you think will be up there?
Oh, that's a toughie. That is really a toughie, Paul. Do you know, it's so hard to predict with this reverse grid. Josh Thompson. I'm going to go for that.
Oh, Thompson. I mean, Adam State's up there, but he is in the Porsche, so he is a little bit hindered, is Adam. You got Mark Fletcher as well, starting 11th place in a BMW. He could be a shout to move forward in this one. But we're getting ready for the start of this race. Looking forward to Ben Gregory, who leads the drivers round, and he'll be getting the green flag in just a moment. The Silverado pulls over into pit road, and Ben Gregory's going quite early here. Gets the jump on Lee Berridge. Green flag in the air for race number 2 of the evening here in the World GT Championship. Down towards turn number 1. The flame spits out of that McLaren as they go through turn number 1. Will everyone make it? That's the big question. As through they go. So far, so good. All Although I am seeing Chris Sylvester drop to the back of the field, but we're still going. Oh, there's a car in the middle of the track there. That's Phil Samways. There's there's almost multiple cars. There's Andy Shield involved in there. There's James Armstrong was involved. One of the Pure Sims cars was involved there as well. I believe it was Michael Evdoka who got held up in all of that. We're staying green flag racing though. Out the International Horseshoe, out onto the oval for the first time here, Peter. And this is where Ben Gregory is going to be regretting his car choice.
Well, I'll tell you what, there's nothing wrong with that McLaren through the road section. He really strong through there is Gregory. He's got Berridge's BMW right up behind him, but maybe Gregory might be able to hang on before the Le Mans chicane here as well. Perhaps not. Here comes Berridge. Can Berridge get the move done smoothly though? Yes, he can. Very good move there from the boosted driver. Of course, two different painted cars, but both running out of the same awning, the same team, Boosted Motorsport.
Yeah, one for three Spires Motorsport, which is Ben Gregory, and Boosted Motorsport with Lee Berridge. Here comes another boosted car, which is Tim Perry in the boosted Virage car. Of course,
it's
that
a boosted 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yes, it is, because Ed May's there in fourth place. You're absolutely spot on with the three Spires painted car in fourth, but coming into turn one again, hard onto the brakes, Chris van der Ness and Adam Stater duking it out for fifth place. You've also got in there Brendan Stacey and Mark Fletcher. Fletcher's already trying to work forward in all of this. He started 11th place up to 8th so far, as we go 2-3 wide out of the International Horseshoe. And the problem is, for that lead four, they can't get away at the front here.
No, and they're, Chris van den Esch and him go around the outside of Ed May and they trip over each other. There goes Adam State up the inside and
is it?
No, it snaps on him.
How?
Oh, that was lucky. That was lucky. Oh,
that's Adam Watson.
Watson off.
He's off. I think he's taken avoiding action and it's unsettled the car. But I was
he
wrong,
sneezed
by the
in
way.
the car and it's broken to a spin. It's that sensitive.
I was
He's
wrong,
changed the
by
radio
the way.
station. Oh, we're in the wall.
Adam State, by the way, is in a Mercedes. He did change car earlier in the season, so he is one that could actually be a good shout. Though Matt Fletcher's up to fifth now. I think State got caught up in all of that shenanigans down at the International Horseshoe. And that's Richard Simner. Simner's in the wall, and the Pro-Am driver Alex Neller almost T-bones him.
Well done, Alex Neller.
That's Jack
not
Sedgwick.
So well done.
And Chris van der Ness. Cedric and van der Ness. And there's a Magnus Satellite E-Stars car is around as well. My goodness, it's all sorts have happened down there at the Le Mans chicane. What we do still have at the front here is 1, 2, 3, Tim Perry, Lee Berridge and Ben Gregory with Ed May fourth as Michael Evdoka pits. He's had to take a fast repair.
Oh dear, so not a good night at the office for the Triple Eight and Michael Evdoka, but at the front the boosted boys are doing a super job. Perry, Berridge and Gregory, they've actually made a bit of a three-car breakaway. Ed May is providing a perfect cork in the bottle in fourth, holding up Mark Fletcher, Martin de Jong, etc. Et al, I should say. And you can see their Pro-Am champion, Mark Hutchison, he's in that kind of mid-group as well. Great start from Josh Thompson, up to 11th overall from deep in the pack. Great stuff from the Manxman. And he's the danger man, I would say.
Now, did McFarlane get caught up in all that shenanigans? Because he's down in 28th on the opening lap. There's Josh with his laid-back approach to racing. Mind you, he is about 17 feet tall, so he needs to stretch out to be able to be comfortable. Look at him. He's got no slipstream there, but that's enough a place gained on Tom Dadswell now for Josh. He's up to 10th place here. That's up 15 spots so far. Alex Davidson is up 17 spots into 15th as well, so he's working his way through. So there's a number of cars working their way through, but you're absolutely right, Peter. That front three, they've made a breakaway. They need to work together to try and pull away from everybody else.
they've got to be smart. Perry, Berridge and Gregory have a huge opportunity here. Oh my word, Josh! You mad Manxman! Move of the season. I'm calling it now. That is the move of the season. Full risk, full reward.
Look at the smile!
I love it. I love it. That is... Oh, fortune favours the brave. Oh my goodness me, that was audacious, but fantastic.
I think there must have been about a cigarette paper's width of space between him, the wall, and those two cars on the inside. That was absolutely incredible to make that move and make it count, because you're relying on that car in the middle not suddenly drifting up. Oh, that's Matt Fletcher. That's down at the Western Horseshoe, so he's had some sort of drama down there. My goodness.
If you're in the boosted team room and you're on the radio to Perry, Berridge and Gregory, you've got to say, guys, that Josh Thompson is coming. You've got to be as clever as you can. As Fletcher getting a bit of a hip and shoulder there from Ed May. Yeah, Thompson is on the move. So yeah, as you rightly say, Paul, Perry, Berridge and Gregory have got to work together.
Well, Tim Perry has actually pulled out a little bit of a gap at the front. In fact, he's broken that slipstream. 1.7 seconds over Lee Berridge and Ben Gregory as they go on. We've got changing of the order on the timing tower as well, because I think Michael Blake's gone for a little bit of a spin. There's another Maradna Satellite E-Stars car around as well. That was the 29. That's Jacob Machuski. He's taken a tour back to the pit lane. That's his day done in terms of this second race. It's not been a good day for Jacob so far. Okay, he got third place in race number 1, but in terms of any sort of championship fight, he's losing out here. It's all checked up, didn't it?
Oh, I tell you what, McFarlane did very well to get through that as well. It all happened right in front of him, but this has a way of having a bit of a force field around them. And yeah, there's Machuski going into the wall, and he's blown the motor. Actually, yeah, you can see the smoke pouring out of the engine bay of that AMG Mercedes.
It's all on its own.
Yep.
It's going already.
Yeah. Of course, the cars are running with as low an aerodynamic downforce trim as possible, so they can get very loose over those curves. But the drivers know that. They practice for that. They're prepared for it, and that'll be very frustrating there for Mark Hutchison. Deep breaths, Connery Maddock.
It's deep breaths for me. Looking at that, that's a bit heart-in-mouth moment. If I was a driver coming around to seeing that, yeah, look at now. Thompson's a bit of a he's got his way past Ed May, but May's not having none of it, is it?
He said, "You're a pro driver. Well, I'm Ed May." And I've got the best post-race joke ever. If he gets on the Ant-Glass podium, he's going to have to come in and tell his joke. And
he's a sitting ducky of a...
He is.
Fletcher and Thompson. And now the Parabellum Simability.
Here comes the big one.
Race. Fall 3 wide. No, contact!
Told you.
Oh, that's a big incident. That is high speed. That's close to 180 miles an hour. And you called it race number 1. That's corner number 1. That is a huge incident.
Oh, my. Dearie me. That was one of the VRS satellite cars has just landed in Sebring. Good grief.
Adam State, Jared Caroni, Ed May, and I think Tom Dadswell. No, Tom Dadswell is a separate thing, but they're all involved, those three. And that's from somebody trying to make a move to the inside. It's you're playing with fire when you try that sort of move, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, we called it before it even happened there. When you saw drivers shuffling left, right, making aggressive changes of direction at high speed, that's what's going to happen. It's always the same, and that's what happened there. So, game on then. 10 minutes to go. We're at half race distance. Josh Thompson has got to pull 3 seconds into Ben Gregory and Lee Berridge, but even then he's got to pull another 3 seconds into Tim Perry, who's driving his socks off all on his own out in the lead. Who was it who said that you couldn't make a breakaway? Well, I think it might have been me, but it's very unusual. Yeah, I mean, what do you expect to happen there?
I just you
Silly.
just Yeah, it is silly. I mean, that's poor driving, is that? And there's nothing that Ed can do there at that point. Gets collected by two Marantha Satellite E-Stars cars. And in fact, if I'm correct, that's all three of them in pit road.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Now, Ben Gregory and Lee Burridge have got to play this as smart as they possibly can here. Work together. Otherwise, Josh Thompson will be on them in absolutely no time. As the flames spit out the back of that McLaren, that V8 twin turbocharged McLaren. Right.
Oh, well, this is going to be
Paul
a sight.
Webster.
Paul's backed off. Now, look at
Very
that. Paul's
clever.
backed
You can
off.
see the... Oh. Yep.
It's lost
That's
him
how you
like
do it.
two. It's lost him 2 places, but it's gained him 3 through that incident. As we've got Adam Coles, another driver who's not having a good day of it here today. He's off at the International Horseshoe. But this is the thing. You can see an incident in front of you. You need to be backing off to be able to react to what the cars are doing and what's happening in that incident. And Paul Webster did that, and some of us didn't, and they ended up getting collected in all of that.
Yeah, it's interesting as well to see the Evo SR team actually splitting the cars. Normally we see Evo SR sticking all in the same car and then using that setup data. So interesting to see the opting for the Lamborghini there when the other Evo SR's cars are in the Mercedes. But interesting. So already, yeah, Thompson already pulled in Burridge and Gregory with relative ease. The question is going to be how quickly can Thompson get through Burridge and Gregory, and can he pull away? Riding aboard with Adam Watson, you can see the carnage unfold. Yeah.
And that's what happens when you keep your foot in.
Yeah.
And that's what he did. He kept his foot in. And he couldn't react. And I know the stewards of this series do look dimly at people who keep the foot in into an incident. So as Gregory and Burridge switch positions, you're absolutely right, by the way, about Thompson. Ben Gregory last lap of 44.6. Josh Thompson of 43.3.
Now I know I'm completely wrong about saying you can't make a breakaway at this track, and Tim Perry's made me look really silly there, but I did say that Thompson was going to come through. Oh, that's not Jack Osborne.
But that, don't say
Gall?
that's Alex Gall. No, it's not.
Oh, look at this big block from Gregory. Sorry, Paul. Sorry to cut over there. Big block from Ben Gregory as they hit the brakes for turn 6 and 7. And I think, Gregory's serving a slowdown. I think.
Yeah, possibly.
How odd.
He possibly is that. If he's not happy. He's on the blinkers, but
he did throw a bit of a block there, I have to say.
Yes, Thompson won't be too happy. Here comes Gregory down the inside. I thought he was going to just send that on Thompson then, but no, just gets one place on Fletcher. So he's not giving this up without a fight, is Ben in that McLaren. But Thompson is just so much faster, and he's working his way through, and he's just having fun out there in this second race. Is Josh Ross McFarlane, by the way, up to a 12th place now. Alex Davidson, his championship contender, is in 6th place. And speaking of 6th place, there is Alex Davidson to the outside, almost 3 wide as we come across the stripe once again. Fletcher's late onto the brakes, but Ben Gregory is the last of the late breakers, it seems, because he's hanging on for dear life here. But you think it's a matter of time, really, before 1, if not 2, make their way past.
Yeah, here comes Davidson going to try and make a move here on Gregory. This is a good opportunity for Davidson. This race has gone well for him because he'll be able to pull back some points on Ross McFarlane, although his teammate is also his championship rival. And Alex Davidson, very much a bona fide contender for this championship. So these are key laps here as well. But Thompson, he has caught Burridge, but he's struggling to get past the boosted BMW driver. Burridge holding a very, very defensive line there, coming into turn 6 and 7. And yeah, Thompson's having to go all the way around the long way here. And meanwhile, Perry's 6 seconds out in the lead. I cannot believe that. Who would have predicted that?
And I can't see Thompson catching that up with just under 5 minutes to go, because the side-by-side, Thompson and Burridge going down low, trying not to give Thompson a side draft into the chicane. He's not giving this up. Thompson won't be happy. He'll be cursing in there going, oh, these Pro-Am drivers, but he's entitled to fight for that position. It's every position counts for everyone out there. You're not fighting for your own championship points totals, you're fighting for the positions. That's what counts when it comes to points in this championship. Thompson, though, to second place, 6.4 seconds behind, with 4 minutes and 11 seconds remaining here. We're going to get 3 laps left in this race here, Peter.
Josh Thompson on the brakes in that BMW is quite remarkable. He's just able to brake so much later, and he can just put that car on its nose, and it is so stable. It might not have the straight line grunt of the Mercedes, but under braking is quite remarkable watching that young Manxman and that car. Really, really impressive. Just look at the gaps, just the car length he's pulling away there on this road section. And yeah, very... Oh, little tangle there between Davidson and Fletcher. Davidson goes through for now. Okay, 3.5 minutes, 5.6 seconds. You know, it would take a mistake here from Perry. Perry's done an amazing job.
Yeah, it would take a big mistake with that. A slowdown penalty at the chicane, which is so easily picked up. Let's not forget, we've seen it already tonight, that it's so easy to pick up a slowdown penalty in that Le Mans chicane, as Michael Gray now trying to duke it out with Ben Gregory. Gray, of course, who won Pro-Am in race number 1. He's having a really good evening in that Audi, that full tilt V-Mode Sport car. And he's now up into 6th place here. So again, the Pro-Am winner for race 1 to 3rd place for Pro-Am in race number 2. 6th place overall now, ahead of that McLaren. He's trying to hang on to the coattails of the cars in front, but they've got a little bit of a gap between him and Lee Berridge in 5th place.
So it's 2.5 minutes to go, and the fight still continues then. That's Michael Gray and Ben Gregory. Great run from Michael Gray. He's come through the field well, of course, winning the AM class in race 1 and right up there. But we're going to get, by my reckoning, we're going to get an are we going to get an AM class winner winning overall?
Pro-Am?
Pro-Am, excuse me, yes, Pro-Am. Very good.
I mean, Tim Perry, we can't... We're not going to say it yet because we really don't want to do the old Murray Walker trick on Tim, but he's currently got a 4.6 second lead. That lead is coming down. It is worth saying it came down 1.1 seconds last lap. It's not enough of a time game that Josh has got over Tim, but Tim still needs to push on. He can't really relax here. Now, fortunately for him, or unfortunately, depends how it goes, he does have a little bit of a traffic in front of him. That's Ed May. Now, May drives under the boosted awning. As he said earlier on, he's in the Three Spires Motorsport car. Tim Perry is in the boosted Farage car. Is Ed just going to back off a little bit and allow Tim to get a little bit of slipstream to help him out here?
I would think that would be that's what you got to do. Yeah, that's how teamwork teamwork works basically. And well, the main thing is that whatever Ed May does here, he can't be a hindrance in any way whatsoever. I mean, there is a decent gap between them there, but it could be that Ed May is just going to give that last bit of cover as they run to the flag. Whoa. Thompson's so good on the brakes. Davison gets into the back of him and loses a spot. So yeah, Davison loses 2 spots in 1 corner.
Fletcher absolutely flung that car down the inside there. He saw an opportunity, decided to take it. Thompson, though, it was a heck of a last-minute move, I must say, under braking into turn number 1. As he said, that BMW of Thompson's car has just looked absolutely planted on the brakes. As here comes Davidson, him and Fletcher, they've had a little bit of a rub and a kiss on the previous lap into that Western Horseshoe, but they're going to carry on for the time being. Perry still leading Thompson only gained a second. We should be on, and we are on, the last lap of the race. So Tim Perry, he just needs to keep it going at the front here. We could see the boosted Virage car get a race win here in the World GT Championship. But look at the drivers behind. Fletcher's going down low early. He doesn't want to give a draft to Davidson, but he also wants to leave the draft out of the chicane on Thompson, as well as more coming through. Alex Gall there in 6th place, done a commendable job, up 22 places for Alex in that Miranda's Satellite E-Stars car. But Tim Perry for Boosted Virage coming around the final corner. He sees the checkers flag, and he's going to be a race winner here in race number 2 of the evening in the World GT Championship.
Brilliant stuff, really brilliant stuff there from Tim Perry. And Josh Thompson does nick that second position at the last moment from Alex Davidson. Oh, Mark Fletcher has to settle for 4th, Michael Gray in 5th. And yeah, Ross McFarlane, I was going to say only back in 9th, that wouldn't be the right thing to say, but does drop a few points to his teammate there, Alex Davidson.
Yeah, Alex Davidson missing out on 2nd place by 3/100ths of a second as more cars come to the line. As I think we've got a 3 wide situation coming onto the start and finish line there. You see him in the background of the shot there. It was Jensen Adrianson who was involved with that one across the line. So yeah, the final few cars are coming across the line to finish their races. Tim Perry will be delighted, and here's how it ran for 2nd place. Thompson did the big old block on Fletcher. Davidson came around the outside, gained 1 place, and Fletcher lost that one out. But Thompson and Davidson moving forward 23 and 29 places in the end. But Boosted Virage, they'll be delighted. They'll be dancing in the streets of Boosted. Because it is Tim Perry who wins this race for the Pro-Am driver. Before we give you your race results, it's time to spin the wheel once again and find out who is going to be on pole position for our final race of the evening. That wheel will settle down, slows down. Don't say it's going to be 34 again. Well, I promise you, this has not been designed like this. It is completely random. But once again, it's going to be 34th place that will get pole position here in the final race of the evening. So we'll take you through your results. It is Boosted Virage as Tim Perry gets the overall race win, which means he's also the Pro-Am race winner. He'll be delighted with that, 3 seconds in the lead, ahead of Josh Thompson, who is the top pro driver for Team Redline, with Alex Davidson for Pure Sims Esports and Mark Fletcher for Altitude Esports, the top 3 in pro. Michael Gray, 2nd place in AM, 5th place overall for the Full Tilt V Motorsport car, ahead of Alex Gall. Lee Berridge, 3rd place after front row of the grid in Pro-Am. He's 7th place overall. He'll be delighted with that, with Ben Gregory, who started on pole position, with him there as well in 8th. Ross McFarlane, your championship leader, in 9th, ahead of Andy Archer in 10th. Paul Webster 11th, ahead of Alex Nella, with Mike Horder in 13th place. Martin de Jong is your top AM driver in that 2nd race of the evening, ahead of Jim Whitehouse. That's Parabellum Racing Team Simability, beating out Century Sim Racing. Brendan Stacey in 16th, ahead of Jax Belton for the Penguin RC Simulation Team, in 3rd place in AM, 17th overall. James Armstrong 18th, ahead of Jeroen Kaiser and Jesse Payne Wilkins. Paul Crawford, Andy Gilmore, then the next 2 with Mark Hutchinson. Yanis Albert had a tough time out there in 24th, ahead of Adam Hedgecock, Patrick Faulkner, Phil Samways, Jack Sedgwick, Brian Sohn and Michael Blake round out your top 30. Kevin Kettleman ahead of Jensen Adrianson's then in 31st, 32nd. Adam Watson, who he got swiped the wall in that big incident in 33rd ahead of Jack Osborne, who's going to be in pole position for this final race of the evening. Adam Watson starting on the front row with him, so it's Century Sim Racing and Altitude Esports front row in the final race. Michael Evdoka just missing out on that pole position. He'll be gutted about that after getting caught up in that incident with Josh Thompson. Matthias Drozda ahead of Chris van der Ness with Nick Talaputis, Matt Woodhouse and Lars van Rijn rounding out your top 40. Adam Coles with Jared Caroni, Adam State and Ed May in 44th, one lap down. The rest of the cars did not finish. Tom Dadswell, Jacob Machursky, David Nichols, Richard Simner, Chris Sylvester and Andy Shield. Well, I mean, the big talking point is Tim Perry being able to get such a huge win, but the big talking point is that Maradnas Satellite E-Stars car taking off. I mean, NASA's not that far away, is it, with Cape Canaveral? That was a good attempt.
You look straight across to it. On a space shuttle launch, you would get a perfect view from the Daytona grandstand.
Well, they were trying their own launch. I'm going to say they were unsuccessful with the launch of the rocket to the moon a few days ago, but certainly the World GT drivers trying their own effort in the World GT space organisation. But we'll talk about it. Tim Perry, 3-second win over Josh Thompson, Alex Davidson and Mark Fletcher, who finished 2nd, 3rd and 4th. They did a tremendous job in themselves coming through the field. You have to say Alex Davidson having a really good night so far tonight.
Very good. Yeah. I mean, just missed out on the race 1 win by a very slender margin, but he's up on points from his teammate and championship leader Ross McFarlane tonight. So yeah, he'll be very pleased with that, I would think. Will Davidson. And yeah, he'll have it all to do again here in race 3. But what can Josh Thompson do? I mean, he was so strong there in that second race as well. He could potentially come through the field to win as well. But fantastic stuff. But yeah, Tim Perry, he's broken the Da Vinci Code really there, because he should not be able to pull away at Daytona International Speedway.
Well, it was in a Mercedes compared to Berridge and Gregory, who were in a BMW and McLaren respectively. So basically, I think that just the grunt on that Mercedes is so strong that he was able to pull away while they were trying to work together and stay in front of everybody else. But I will say, Alex Davidson gained 29 places in that race. Alex Gall in his Porsche, 22 positions gained in that race. He did a sterling job out there as well, worked his way through the field, and the unfavoured car, it'll be strong through that infield section. Absolutely, without a doubt, that Porsche will be strong through that infield section. But he's done a tremendous job there so far tonight, wheeling that car around.
Yeah, I mean, there are actually, believe it or not, there are 1 or 2 really slow corners, slow exits, and the Porsche, coming out of International Horseshoe, West Horseshoe, very important there. And then, of course, onto the Super Speedway, it really gets its power down well. It's also very good under braking, and there's some very big braking zones here at Daytona. So, yeah, not all bad, but I think he's just played it really, really smart. And also, I think he's the one who's had to take the most risk, because the car does not have the straight line speed, but he's really been taking some very, very big risk to be able to get the most out of that car. And the only thing is, though, that the Porsche, the power that it does have, although it's not fantastic on outright top speed, once you get into that high rev range, the engine is making a lot of power at the very top of the rev range. I remember Kevin Escher telling me about that, saying that, when you're on the Dottinger Hole at the Nürburgring, when you really get into that very high rev range in top gear, it just seems to just gallop that little bit more, and then hit its top speed. So it's not all bad. And yeah, Alex Gall's definitely made the very most out of it.
It certainly has done a tremendous job. We are getting ourselves ready for race number 3 of the evening, so do not go anywhere. You will not want to miss this third race. Is Paul Smith and Peter Mackay here on commentary for you. Your top am in that second race was Martin de Jong, finished in 14th overall. Good result for him in his championship. And James Whitehouse showing the pace that he showed in qualifying in race number 1, but James Whitehouse actually getting himself up, get this, 30 places into 15th. Really good drive there for the Century Sim Racing driver. That's
superb. That is absolutely superb there from James Whitehouse, the Flying Springbok. Very impressive indeed. Now, I've been doing a little bit of very light research, Paul. I found some more racing driver wines. Kevin Buckler, owner of TRG, the Racers Group, for a team owner, of Daytona winning team owner. He has his own wine. And then, how could I forget, Daniel Ricciardo has one. And you can even get a exact replica of his race boot decanter. So it's a shoey decanter for the more highbrow race celebration.
Highbrow race celebration, absolutely, yeah. I mean, it depends which team's boot he's got. That's a talking point for another day.
Well, I was on my stag do last week, and I had to do a shoey, and yeah, it's not as bad as it seems.
Well, I'll take your word from it. Given that I don't drink, given that I don't drink, I think I'll allow you to take the scientific evidence on that one. But yeah,
we could fill up a Daniel Ricciardo shoey decanter with some Ribena and water. I think that would do the job.
I'll think about it. We're getting ready for race number 3. We've got about 4 minutes remaining before we get into that final race of the evening. Before we completely lose our minds, let's look at the prospects of this final race, because we could be in for another fun race. We could be in for another big positions gained for a few of those drivers. Ross McFarlane, we barely mentioned him in that race number 2. He did not find it as fun running his way through the field. Okay, he finished in 9th place. But James Armstrong had Alex Davidson had such a better run compared to his teammate through the field. In a championship like this, where there's drop scores, you do still want to get as better result as possible throughout the championship, so that if you do end up having to drop some scores, it's not going to affect you as much.
Yeah, definitely. The better your kind of drop scores are, the better you're gonna turn out. So you don't really want to have a dead zero for your drop score, because you will be falling back. So yeah, very important, that consistency throughout the season. That's for certain.
We did see the conditions there. We are late into the evening now. It's 9:15 in sim time, so that means we're definitely under lights. We've been under the lights all evening, let's be honest. I mean, you've been there at Daytona in a couple of times actually. You mentioned it's like Blackpool Illuminations. I mean, how does that sort of add to the atmosphere? Having all those lights, having the Ferris wheel, of course. The Ferris wheels, you always think of like Suzuka and Le Mans as well as this place for that. But how is it, that atmosphere, when you're actually there for the 24?
It's so special. It is incredibly special. If you've never, for anyone watching who's maybe been to Le Mans before, or thinking, you can get flights really cheap in January to go over to Daytona. I could not recommend it higher. The one thing I would say, Paul, about Daytona is, and it's applicable to all IMSA races, but Daytona being the big event, the fan access is like nothing we experience here in Europe. You can get right in every garage, speak to the drivers, you're on the grid, all just with a normal ticket. There's no fancy ticket. You on the grid just before the race, you can go and get a picture with your favorite driver, wish them good luck. The fan access is just off the charts. You can easily walk around, although it's a very big place. The infield section is relatively compact, so you can watch from lots of different places. And it's just a great festival of motorsport. It's an amazing facility. The France family have done an incredible job to develop it over the years. And yeah, it's the only way I can say is get yourself out there, spend a weekend, fly out on maybe the Wednesday or the Thursday, come back on the Monday. You can even go back on the Sunday night actually quite easily. And like I say, the flights are cheap from the UK at that time of year. It's an absolutely essential bucket list race to go to.
I mean, I do want to go to Daytona one year, that is for sure. I've kept on talking about it, but I will get out there at some point, because it is one of those sort of endurance races that I want to sort of tick off and say, I've done that. Le Mans is another one that I want to tick off for an endurance race for myself personally. One track, one venue that I wouldn't mind going to actually next year, if I do get the opportunity to see RaceSpotTV's own Tyler Maxson, would be Laguna Seca. For the IMSA round there.
Or Red Sport.
I've been told it's a good venue to go to, though, is Laguna Seca for watching motorsport. Not my personal favourite to drive around, but certainly one to watch. So definitely, I would like to go out there and bump into Tyler and say hello as well. But I'd love to chat and talk about race venues and that I'd want to go to. But unfortunately, we've got a grid to go through. But let's quickly go through that, because it is Jack Osborne, Adam Watson on the front row of the grid with Jensen Adriansons and Kevin Kettleman, row number 2. Michael Blake and Brian Sohn on row number 3. Fourth row of the grid, Jack Sedgwick. He's a good shout for the race win with Phil Samways. Patrick Faulkner and Adam Hedgecock, row number 5 with Yannis Albert and Mark Hutchinson, row number 6. Row 7, Andy Gilmore, Paul Crawford with Jesse Payne Wilkins and Euro Kaiser on row number 7. Row 8 for James Armstrong and Jack Belton. 10th row of the grid for Brendan Stacey and Jim Whitehouse with Matt de Jong and Mike Horder. Then in row 11. Row 12 for Alex Nella and Paul Webster. Row 12 for Andy Archer and Ross McFarlane with Ben Gregory and Lee Berridge on the next row of the grid. Alex Gall and Michael Gray round out row number 15. Row 16 for Mike Fletcher and Alex Davidson with Josh Thompson and Tim Perry then on row number 17. Row 18 for Michael Avdoka and Matthias Drozda. Next row of the grid is Chris Van Der Ness and Nick Salaputis with Matt Woodhouse and Lance Van Ryn on row number 20. Adam Coles and Jared Caroni on the next row of the grid. And then we'll quickly fire through these. Adam State, Ed May, Tom Dadswell, Jacob Machursky, David Nichols, Richard Simner. And the final two on the grid, Chris Sylvester and Andy Shield. So I say that the man on the front row of the grid, Adam Watson, is a good shout for a win. Jack Sedgwick is a good shout for a win. Yannis Albert as well could be a really good shout for a win. Very quickly then, Peter, do we hopefully get a nice clean race in this third race?
Let's hope so. We've had one. One rocket launch. Let's keep it that way.
That's what we hope for. But the drivers are getting themselves ready behind the Silverado once again. So it's an Alex Nella session, and well, it seems appropriate since we are in the good old United States. Adam Watson in that Audi. We've seen how twitchy that car is. He'll be looking to try and get a good start here, but it is Jack Osborne who is leading them round in that Century Sim racing car. He's going to get the launch nice and early. We're going to get the green flag in the air for more racing underway here at Daytona International Speedway. In towards turn number 1 they go. It is Watson around the outside of one for the lead, ahead of Jack Osborne. Jensen Adriansons tried to follow through. Oh, we got a car off, and that's at turn 1. That's Adam Coles. He's had an absolute disaster of a night as Adam is all the way at the back of the grid with nobody to play with, so he'll be a sitting duck. And just slow running at the back. We stay green flag racing. We've also had Ed May has had an issue out there in towards the International Horseshoe, in towards the Western Horseshoe for the first time in this third race. And well, these drivers working their way through, trying their best to get themselves the best position to be in. But Adam Watson right now he is looking good so far at the front. He's got a little bit of a gap, but he's going to have a train of cars trying to come through. And speaking of a train of cars trying to come through, Jack Sedgwick. Oh, there's contact further back. That's Andy Archer. There's big drama onto the NASCAR track. Well, stay green, but Jared Crony, I think, is involved in that one as well. Into the Le Mans chicane for the first time. Oh, those cars, they look really twitchy out there at the moment.
They do, yeah, running in very low downforce trim, as low as they'll go, really. It's all about straight line speed at Daytona. Therefore, when you go through that bus stop chicane, it really, Le Mans chicane, excuse me, it really does make it difficult. But Adam Watson, he's trying his very best to try and make some sort of a breakaway at the front of the field. It's really his only hope at this point. Whoa! Andy Gilmore off the road. He's nearly into the pit lane. Careful not to go in the pit lane. You get a speeding penalty. I've seen that happen plenty of times. Oh, Phil Samways in the Full Tilt Motorsport Audi. Whoa! Snips across the nose of... It's Adam Hedgecock in the Altitude Ferrari.
Well, I think... Andy Gilmore, I think he was assisted into that position.
He's not a very happy Gilmore.
Yes, not a happy Gilmore at all. There is a nice golf course here. Is it? No, it's... where am I? No, I'm thinking
Indianapolis has got one in the middle of them. Yeah.
Oh, there's your own Kaiser around. Oh, your own was in such a good place. He's dropping down the order thick and fast. And the problem is, if you make that mistake and that spin at the start of the race, you've pretty much got to wait for every single car to come past. And Alex Gall, David Nichols has got Josh Thompson behind him. Thompson has dropped back in the field. He's down to 37th. Oh, big crash!
Wow!
Big crash!
Oh dear!
Ben Gregory
crabbing.
Well, Thompson's managed to make his way through. We stay green still, but my goodness, a number of incidents happening in his opening couple of laps here. I don't know if drivers are getting caught up, but yeah, Ben Gregory, that's his race done. He's trying to drag that car back to pit road to get the fast repair, but yeah, that's a final race to forget for him.
Yeah, after such a good run in race 2, and yeah, just head through the bus stop, through the tyre ball there. So Adam Watson has opened up a gap at the front. He's opened up a gap of 1.9 seconds over Jensen Adrianson as Brian Soane's turned around, as is Jack Belton.
Yeah, it's Belton.
Dear.
Oh, there's a Century Sim Racing car off there as well. Oh, there's all sorts happening here. What on earth is happening here today in this final race?
Yeah, exactly the same reverse grid number as the second race, but yes, you're right. Well, absolutely chaotic at the front of the field. Now, Jack Sedgwick, he's muscled his way through into second. What can he do in the Ferrari? Can he pull off a bit of an upset? We don't believe the Ferrari 488 Evo to have the pace here at Daytona, but Jack Sedgwick just has a way of just dragging out these performances from time to time.
Thank you to teammate Magic Sakovic, pointed out that his teammate in Mr. Kaiser did that all in his Euron.
Super.
We're here all week.
Yeah, very good. Very good.
That's one you'd be proud of if you did that.
That's fantastic. That only praise. That should only get praise.
I don't know about that. Jacob Majerski, by the way, is out of the race. He is retired and he is parked up and done. Tom Dadswell is on pit road as well, and I think he's pretty much done for this race as well. So a couple of... it's been a bad night for Jacob Majerski, it must be said. Oh, Josh Thompson! What's happened to him? That looks more like an incident rather than a slowdown penalty.
He's going very slow, and that, yeah, more so.
He can't select gear. He's trying to clutch it, isn't he? He's trying to clutch it to bring the revs up.
How odd.
Yeah, he's having to pull over.
Blown the motor?
I don't think he's blown the motor, but that's his day done. That's a retirement.
Yeah. That's running like a bag of kippers.
Well, there's Phil Samways is now off at the International Horseshoe. Well, all sorts of craziness and silliness is going on in this final race of the evening, and these drivers, I think they're getting a little bit. Oh, it was at the Western Horseshoe, sorry, not the international one. But these drivers, I think, they're getting a little bit. It's almost like a last day of school sort of approach to this one, which is really strange because the schools in England at least started today, so it's back to school for some of them, and I think, to be honest, some of the drivers might be going in front of the stewards at this race as well. At the front, though, office. Yeah, absolutely. At the front, by the way, Jack Sedgwick has been slowly gaining on Adam Watson. That Ferrari does have some pace over the Audi, so it'll be intriguing to see if he's able to close down Adam across this race. There's still 13 minutes remaining in this one, so plenty of time for those at the front. Meanwhile, a little bit of a squeeze happening a little bit further down. Around we go, around turn one. There's Brian Sohn in that white and orange Penguin RC simulation car, and there's one of our Brabham cars down the inside. A bit of a biff on the door. It'll rub out, will buff out all that, but Yannis Albert moving forward here. He's desperate to get a good result in this final race.
Yeah, and Albert's, he's had a tricky race meeting so far. So yeah, this is a great opportunity to try and set that right in that gorgeous green and gold Brabham Esports machine, Brabham BMW. That's whoa, isn't that cool to say? Get your Parmalat yogurts out. Get printing your entry list on the Olivetti printers.
All we need is some Tag Heuer branding as well.
Timepieces.
Yeah. I mean, if they do want to send me and Peter some timepieces, then please do that. We'll be more than happy to take.
I mean, do you know what would really just finish it off? Yeah, we get a nice Tag Heuer Monaco with a free M sim racing glove. I think that would just look mint. They would just go so well together.
We have had it confirmed, by the way, that the wheel his steering wheel has died as Josh, so that's why he's had to retire. So as we carry on racing here at Daytona, looking further down, James Armstrong trying to move forward into fourth place around the outside. Can he get that move completed on Kevin Kittleman? The answer is yes, he can. And he will carry on then into fourth place as Michael Blake was briefly showing to the top of our standings. I think he might have had an issue out on the in the infield.
Sedgwick is getting close. He's getting very close. He's within the draft range now. Yeah.
So Sedgwick is on the charge. I think he could be on for a Ferrari winning this final race of the evening. He starts up that cloaking device that he has. Right, here we go. Here's what's happened during this race. So that was Tom Dadswell getting into the back of one car and he just unceremoniously dumping them.
That was Coles.
Yeah. Further back, Andy Archer. Here's what happened to him. So this is coming out of... Oh, that's Thompson.
Andy Archer gets speared by Thompson.
And that caught one of those Miranda's. Oh my goodness! And that's where we saw a big incident earlier on. So there's Nick Salaputis getting into the side of Mark Woodhouse as well. And then that incident happens in front of them, and he's going to get T-boned straight to the side of that Evo SR car. That's where I think Jacob Machuski got caught up in all of that. Ben Gregory as well. Have a look at things from his perspective, and this is a separate one. This is what happened to Ben, and
there's Machuski.
Yeah.
Nothing Gregory could have done there. He really was an innocent party in that.
So still we carry on with the replays. This is Jack Belton then. This is how he ended up facing the wrong way. Did it himself and then into the end of the pit wall, and that was one of the Pure Sims cars.
Now, which one was it? Because he clipped it pretty hard.
Well, we're back to live pictures. I can tell you Michael Evdoka is running pretty much together with his teammate. That's up here, Alex Davidson, 6th and 7th places. Ross McFarlane is in 11th place right now, so he's not been able to work his way through as Ross, like his teammate Alex Davidson. Davidson is on an absolute charge today.
Yeah, Davidson, if he can keep this up, he'll actually come away from this Daytona meeting, albeit having lost race 1 to his championship rival Ross McFarlane. He'll come away with this with a really strong increase in points compared to his rivals. So, but back at the front, it's Cedric is right on the bumper of Adam Watson now. The only thing is now, Paul, that we know Adam Watson, he just loves a fight. He loves a scrap. And yes, Cedric has caught him, but you can be sure that Watson will try everything to make sure that Cedric doesn't pull away or get away.
Do you know what? There was a WWE wrestler from the 2000s who used to have his theme tune used to have at the start. It says, "My name is Finley and I love to fight." Well, I think we need to change Finley for Watson because he loves a fight right here. And he's down the inside. He's not giving this one up without a fight, is he? He's giving it everything and he stays ahead.
He's World GT's very own Scrappy Doo here is Adam Watson. He's like, let me at him. Brilliant stuff. And of course, Jack Cedric, World Championship level driver, but does Adam Watson look bothered? No, he honestly would square up to anybody in the playground.
Adam Watson is a respecter of no reputations, is he?
No.
He will give it a go. Now, Jack Cedric has got that World Championship cloaking device set up on his router once again. He's engaged that, and it seems to be... it can help it, but it can actually be a hindrance as well, because I believe that the iRacing system doesn't... If you are sort of blinking like that, it doesn't give you the same amount of slipstream as you would have if you had a solid connection. From what I was told many, many years ago.
Well, it seems to be no problem at all. The only problem is trying to place the car. And this could be... Oh, side by side through the bus stop. And Watson just shoves it up in there and says, no, you don't. Absolutely fearless, Paul. He is fearless.
He's given it everything, isn't he? This is, I mean, Hugo, our producer, is absolutely right. He's very brave in trying to defend this. And here comes Cedric once again. That slipstream, the Ferrari, trying its best alongside. It's Germany versus Italy into turn number 1. Cedric around the outside of 1. Can he hold on to it this time? Watson gives the space and he stays ahead once again. My goodness,
brilliant.
Now the problem here is that these two could be slowing each other down and allowing people like James Armstrong, Alex Davidson, if they can get past Jensen Adriansons, they could be getting involved in this if they're not careful.
They could. I mean, there's just about 5.5 minutes to go, but Watson is just defending like a lion here from Jack Cedric, and yeah, it must be really, really hard to race against with Cedric's internet connection just causing that kind of blipping effect there. And yeah, very, very difficult to do that, but it just doesn't seem to be perturbing Adam Watson at all. He's not letting it show anyway, and make no mistake, that Audi is an animal, especially in low downforce trim. The Ferrari a little bit more planted with its layout, but they came down to the bus stop last time, Le Mans chicane, and Watson put a very firm defence in here last time. He's gone for a different line this time. In they come, and Cedric, nope, can't quite get by. But Cedric again will try and get a run in the Maranello machine and try and get that move done around the outside into turn 1. Fascinating racing, 4.5 minutes to go.
There are some rumours that Jack Cedric is still on an AOL dial-up connection, but look. I mean, you look at the run that he's got now, but when he gets alongside that
3G.
Audi, yeah, there you go. He's got a little bit better ahead. Now the question is, will Adam Watson dive it to the inside? He's giving the space. He's giving the space there. I think Adam realises that he just can't quite fight that for the moment, but he's giving it everything he can. Corner exit wise, Cedric had a little bit of a wiggle then. into the International Horseshoe, and still, Altitude Esports driver Adam Watson trying his best for Jack Sedgwick. He will get a slipstream now, though, will Adam?
He will, yes, and we'll see how much gallop that big Audi has got. We know it's got a strong motor, that naturally aspirated V10, and yeah, once you get it up onto the high bankings of Daytona, if he can stay with the turbocharged Ferrari out of the corner through the mid-range of the revs, then when you get into the top range of the revs, that Audi should fly out onto the super speedway. They go once again, 3.5 minutes to go. They've still got about 4 seconds back to Armstrong, so still got a bit of gap to play with, but what's Watson got up his sleeve here?
Well, we'll have to wait and see. He's obviously got that car trimmed out. He's been doing his best. It's either win it or bin it for Adam.
Here he comes.
And, yep, he's going for the move. And Jack Sedgwick, I mean, how do you race that when Jack is just appearing and disappearing? I don't know, but Adam's doing his best, and he's going to go for it. On the exit of the bus stop chicane, we have just under 3 minutes remaining, so it will be the start of the penultimate lap here as we go across the stripe. And Jack Sedgwick now to the inside, Adam Watson to the outside. If I had Adam, I just hang back. I wait to the last lap.
I don't think that's in his vocabulary, to be honest. I just don't think he can fathom that, of not going absolutely maximum attack. And good racing respect there from Jack Sedgwick as well. He could have shut the door hard on Watson there. He decided not to, and that generosity is going to pay for it there. But Sedgwick, he's no fool. Goes for the cutback here as well, and knows that as long as he stays in the wheel tracks of Watson, he can get a run to the line. Can he get enough of a run, though? That's the question. Can whoever comes out of the bus stop first, can they defend as they go to the line? Perhaps so. Oh, Sedgwick's going to try and go all the way around the long way on the karting line. Whoa.
Nearly doing it as well, but hanging on. Armstrong now, by the way, is just 4.1 seconds behind the race leader, so he has started gaining a little bit, but it's not that much actually. It's only like a tenth or two that he gained on the last lap, so these two are going to be duking it out. It's the penultimate lap, don't forget. You need to be at the front across the line as Sedgwick once again. Well, we don't know where he is. Oh, there he is. He's reappeared as we come through the Le Mans chicane. But Watson right now, he's in the position that he wants to be in at the end of the next lap. Behind Sedgwick, get that slipstream and try and get the run to the start and finish line. But we're going to get one more lap here, Peter. And Jack's trying everything he can to get Watson ahead of him, I feel.
Yeah, Jack Sedgwick trying to throw in the block there as well. Watson up to the high line then as they go down into turn one. Another block, that's late from Sedgwick. And onto the last lap. And has Sedgwick gone to the lead at the right time? Is Watson playing this smart now? Very interesting indeed. And just coming on to our championship contenders, Davidson's up to third. McFarlane, he's up to 7. So Davidson's on the charge.
Yeah, absolutely. Davidson getting ahead of Armstrong. I just noticed that at the same time as you, Peter. And yeah, he's moved up into third place. Watson is trying his best. He needs to hang on now. He needs to keep it within this sort of draft range to give himself the best possible opportunity for the line. Out of the left-hander, onto the power, nice and clean. And look at Sedgwick trying to take those different lines. He's trying to force Adam to lose a little bit of draft. Through NASCAR's turns 1 and 2, heading towards the Le Mans chicane for the final time tonight. Watson gets a good draft. I don't think he makes a move into the chicane. Oh, Sedgwick's backing out as well. This is where he needs the run. This is where Watson needs the perfect run now. Out of the Le Mans chicane. Can he do it? Sedgwick's going for the big block. He doesn't want to lose this win. Coming up alongside comes Watson. Now will he get the run? That Audi's showing some good runs. Can they keep it side by side and clean to the line here? Goes down low to Sedgwick to try and get the shortest line. Who is it? And it's going to be It's going to be Adam Watson. My goodness, Adam Watson takes the win by 24 thousandths of a second over Jack Sedgwick. Alex Davidson takes third place. But wow, Peter, he timed it to perfection. Adam Watson for Altitude Esports.
Superb, absolutely superb there. Did not panic under pressure. That Audi, when you're under pressure, is not going to give you any free kicks at all. And really impressive stuff there from Adam Watson. I cannot describe how difficult it is when the other driver is suffering with problems with their internet connection. It makes it so difficult to race. Top marks to both drivers, actually. They gave each other good room in the most part. And yeah, another well-deserved win. A second win of the season for Adam Watson and Altitude Esports in that Audi. Brilliant.
Not bad to say that he's been doing it tough as well, hasn't he, with that elbow injury that he's had. So, yeah, Adam, rightfully delighted, doing the donuts for Altitude Esports. The team will be more than thrilled with that. We've got the final few cars are coming across the line as well. But my goodness, that was absolutely sensational stuff to watch. Sorry if we weren't following anybody else right then, because that was the race and the fight that we wanted to keep an eye on. It's worth pointing out, Michael Evdoka gained 30 places in that race to finish in 5th. Alex Davidson gained 29 places to finish 3rd in that race. A really good night for Alex. Ross McFarlane up 19 places to 7th. Here's a look back at some of the finishers across the line. There's a big block happening there. Where's that DCW car going? Oh, that's I think that'll be looked at by the stewards there, because I mean, for one thing, the Altitude Esports car was already below the yellow line, and he's decided, no, I'm going to go more left.
Yeah, there was only going to be one outcome there, wasn't there? Yeah, not ideal. It must be said, but they both made it over the line, though.
One flying through the air, unfortunately. As thank you, Peter. As we look at the race results then from race number 3 of the evening, it's Adam Watson who takes the win ahead of Jack Sedgwick. 2nd place, Alex Davidson 3rd place. Really good night for Alex tonight. He's got some really big points there this evening. James Armstrong for Brabham Esports again did well to finish 4th there ahead of Michael Evdoka. Jensen Adriansen's, worth pointing out, started on row number 2, finished in 6th place. That's a really good result for the Pro-Am driver from Indy Autosport Red ahead of Ross McFarlane. Yannis Albert with Paul Webster finishing 9th after being 11th just before the finish line. So really good run from him to get to beat out Mark Fletcher in 10th place, and to also beat out the man in 11th place, which was Mark Hutchinson, a Pro-Am driver. So a good night for Paul Webster there across the line. Alex Gall in 12th place, doing his best that he could in that Porsche. Kevin Kittleman then is the top AM driver for this 3rd and final race, finishing in 13th ahead of Jack Osborne, who started on pole position. Alex Neller 15th ahead of Patrick Faulkner, who we saw flying through the air at the end then, ahead of Martin de Jong and Adam Hedgecock, who he did make that contact with. Jesse Payne Wilkins and Paul Crawford round out your top 20. And De Sheelan 21st after starting at the back of the grid, ahead of Chris Sylvester for Parabellum Racing Team Simability. David Nichols, Michael Blake ahead of Matthias Drozda, Brendan Stacey, Jim Whitehouse, Adam State, Andy Gilmore and Mike Horder. Jack Belton then, who we saw have issues, Lars Van Rijn, Brian Sohn and Ed May, Phil Samways, Lee Berridge, Michael Gray, Ben Gregory, who we saw involved in that big incident, Richard Simner as well, not a good evening for him ahead of Chris Van Der Ness. Jeroen Kaiser, who had a spin all on his own. He was the last driver to finish on the lead lap. Matt Woodhouse, 1 lap down, ahead of Andy Archer and Tim Perry. Those are the last of the guys who score points. Then those who do not score: Nicholas Salaputis, Adam Coles, Jared Caroni, Josh Thompson, Tom Dadswell, and Jacob Machuski. Well, there we go then. That is the race results. And I mean, Peter, who better to speak to start with than your race winner for race 3? Peter, take it away with Adam Watson.
Oh, Adam, what a run that was. Tell us about it.
I'm shocked that the two places I've won are the two top speed tracks where the Audi's not meant to have won. But it's a really good race with Jack. You know what you get with Jack. He's the guy who's literally one of the top of the game in this league, and it's been awesome to get to race him, and then obviously to then beat him as well is pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, tell us about it, because obviously we're racing. The technology that we have here on iRacing is incredible, and we race in real time, but it does have its limitations occasionally with internet connections, etc. That Jack he has, as Paul alluded it to, the force field or the cloaking device. I mean, what's it like to race wheel to wheel when one of the other drivers is suffering with some internet connections?
It is quite difficult because you don't know where they are, because they blink and you're like, oh, have they moved up? Have they moved down? Are they still there? Because you don't want to go into a breaker zone, he's not there, and you comes back and you've hit him because you've travelled 3 km/h quicker into the corner. So it is difficult, but Jack kept coming back at the right moments where there wasn't going to be contact.
Yeah, no, there was definitely good respect between the two of you, and it's been a great season so far. But it's not been easy at times with injuries, etc. How's the arm? How's it feeling?
The arm is all good now. It's all recovered, so I've been able to turn the force speed back up. But season has been a bit of an up and down one. Where we've had a few bad races, when we've had a few good races. But hopefully the second half of the season, the bop, should we say, is a lot better for the Audi, because you can't race the Mercs realistically on especially in like race ones.
Yeah, it does seem there is maybe a little bit of an imbalance there. Of course, heading into the second half of the season, bop aside, what are you kind of hoping to achieve? Is it all about scoring the wins, or is there a potential championship target that you want to reach?
Obviously, there's I think championship as a driver I'm sort of out of it, so it's more helping the team get towards I think top 3 or top 5 in the team championship. So it's all about trying to bag the points, which tonight's been a bit up and down. I've had a few races where I've been facing backwards, so hopefully less of that in the second half and just a bit more usual racing that you like.
Yes, I was going to say we love your full send style, Adam. Don't ever change, and well done on a second win of the season, thoroughly deserved.
Cheers, Peter. Cheers, Paul.
There we go. That was Adam Watson, race winner from race number 3. It's worth also having a word with race winner from race number 2, Tim Perry. Tim, I mean, that was a race of mixed fortunes for you out there this evening, but we'll look at the positives. Race 2, I mean, Peter said it's impossible to get a breakaway at the front of the field, and you proved him wrong.
Yeah, I mean, the Merc was just really good round here, obviously, and I think it was worth a switch from the McLaren. There's no way I could have done that in the McLaren today, so yeah, just absolutely, it was worth doing. And I honestly do not care about race 1. I do not care about race 3. I would take that all day long to get a win in this series, because that's for seasons now, that's been the goal, and yeah, just absolutely amazing.
When you saw that you had the people of Josh Thompson that coming up behind you after they'd worked their way through, were you thinking, just throw the checker flag now, please? Was it that sort of thought, or were you comfortable and thinking, do you know what, I've got a 6-second lead here, I've got this?
I spent about 90% of the time looking at the relative. Just every time it clicked down by 0.1, the panic started to rise a bit. It's no. To be honest, the reason why I had such a big gap was because my teammates did such an amazing job at the start as well. They fought really hard, and they gave me that gap. And just big thanks to Ed and Lee and Ben. Just absolutely fantastic team effort there. Really, just racing hard and fair, but just giving me that little bit of help just to build that gap at the start.
Now, of course, we've reached the halfway point of the championship here, Tim. So, I mean, how are you feeling going into the second half of the season, having made that jump across from the McLaren? You sold the McLaren, you traded it in for a Mercedes. How are you feeling going into the second half of the season?
Well, I'm kind of hoping this isn't the pinnacle, but it's quite hard to see how I could do any better than that, to be honest. So, I'm going to obviously keep trying hard, keep hoping to catch a reverse at some point, and just hopefully start scoring some points, because it hasn't been a very good season in terms of points. So I think from here on in, I know I've got the pace now, so just keep plugging away, try and get some consistent finishes, and try and score some points for the team.
Yeah, it's getting those finishes when you know you've got the pace. That's the difficult part, is putting it all together. But Tim, thank you so much for coming in and having a chat with us, and congratulations on the Race 2 win.
Thanks, Paul.
So there we go. That's well, we did have a Lee Berridge to talk to, but he's disappeared, Peter. But I mean, an intriguing night of racing. One that has gone very well for Alex Davidson. It must be worth saying.
Definitely, I think that's a big story, actually, that Alex has definitely closed the gap to his teammate Ross McFarlane, and that race carries on. But some brilliant individual performances. Adam Watson there in the last race. Tim Perry, as we said, upsetting the form book completely by pulling away with a breakaway win at Daytona. That's something we really just don't see very often at all. And a couple of really close finishes as well. It kind of had it all in this place. It might look a little bit simple on paper. Some people are quite rude about it. I think it's fantastic. I love it.
I've never had a good race here whenever I've raced around here, so that's why I don't like it, but that's just me personally. It's worth pointing out the best drivers from each one. So Alex Davidson, he gained 21 points over Ross McFarlane in that one. Alex Gall was the third best pro driver tonight. Pro-Ams, you had Paul Webster, your leading Pro-Am here. He didn't win any Pro-Am racing here, but he's got himself some really good points for that Full Tilt V Motorsport outfit ahead of his teammate Michael Gray, with Jensen Adriansons finishing third place in Pro-Am. And in Am, Martin de Jong just 5 points gained over Paul Crawford, with Jack Osborne third place in Am. So again, another good night for Martin de Jong to help him out with his championship. But we've got a week off next week, but coming up in 2 weeks' time, Peter, it's new to the series, Fuji Speedway. I mean, if ever you need grunt at a track, that is a track that you need it, especially down out of that last corner down the start and finish straight.
Oh, you bet you do. Yeah, that straight line speed is going to be so important. And as we touched upon in earlier broadcasts this season, we're going to be transcending. We're going to be into a new iRacing season now.
Yes.
That's often the case in the World GT Championship. We always split between two iRacing seasons. That's going to change. The Mercedes have been the car to have up to now. When we come back in 2 weeks' time, they could be all at sea. We just don't know.
And that's one of the beauties of this championship as well. It can really turn on the space of 2 weeks. So do make sure you join us for that one, the 19th of September here on RaceSpotTV. You will not want to miss that one out. But from myself, Paul Smith, from Peter Mackay here, it's best wishes to Peter for next week, and have a good ceremony. But from myself, Paul Smith, Peter and Hugo Luis behind the scenes, and everybody here at RaceSpotTV, until 2 weeks' time from here at Daytona International Speedway, it's goodbye.